And the animal itself, wondrous. The potential, unbelievable. Once we've tamed them, we'll teach them tricks. Here's your look at the new NECA toys. This is the Alien Resurrection Xenomorph Warrior. 200 years after her death, military scientists on board the US Mississauga are attempting to clone Ellen Ripley in order to extract the xenomorph queen embryo that was in her body when she died. On the 8th attempt, they succeed. Contaminated with Ripley's DNA, the queen gives birth to a grotesque human-alien hybrid called the Newborn, which escapes, forcing the crew into a desperate race to destroy it and the other cloned aliens before the ship reaches Earth. First thing we're going to do is figure out how tall the Xenomorph Warrior is. Now, I understand this is not going to be how you mostly will be displaying your figure, but this is kind of just the tallest, without making the legs completely straight that you're going to be able to get the figure. So I figured that would be the best way to tell you how tall the figure stands. Does that make sense? I thought it made sense. Anyways, according to the Ultrameasure 5000, that's the name I've given it, you're looking at a figure that's just about 10 inches. I probably could have just clocked it a little higher than that, but it's about a 10-inch tall figure. And that, in centimeters, works out to be 25.6. Don't fall. 25.6, a little over 25.5 centimeters tall. Now, as I feel I'm against the clock, let's quickly rush through this. Here are some size comparisons. Don't fall. With the Alien Resurrection Ellen Ripley, and also for good measures, here's the newborn alien. Inadvertently, I suppose I've created a line graph with annual fiscal growth in a company. This is kind of what you want to be looking at. Continual growth each and every year. If it starts going the other way, then a company has to rethink their options, perhaps lay off some staff. But I've sort of inadvertently created a fiscal annual growth. This is what we like to talk about in corporations. Anyways, though, looking at the three figures, you can see by height, they do increase. The Xenomorph alien, of course, you're not going to probably be standing it like this. You're asking awfully a lot out of those joints. We'll talk about those in a second. The joints are loose. And the thing, of course, we already had a look at as well is the Xenomorph, the newborn alien, which, man, oh man, that's a really cool looking sculpt. For a more involved, in-depth review of that, I've already had a look at that one. So feel free to check out that review if you so wish. And also feel free to have a look at the Ellen Ripley review that we've just wrapped up. It just literally, well, you'll probably see it in your timeline. It's just before this video. It would be quite funny, though, if the Ellen Ripley video wasn't just before this one. Anyways, let's have a look at the Xenomorph Warrior from, of course, the folks over at NECA Toys and the movie of Alien Resurrection. Not a whole lot has changed, unfortunately, for structural integrity of this figure. There are some loose aspects, all of which, again, we'll have a look at. But first, we can start this review. I just knocked it over. I thought this whole review was going to go, luckily, unscathed by the idea that I wasn't going to be dropping the figure, and then sure enough, look what ends up happening. Anyways, having a look at the Xenomorph Alien Warrior. Really, again, a nice looking specimen. They did change up a few things when it came to the Alien Resurrection alien, seeming to make the narrow torso much skinnier than before, with broader thigh, I don't know if you would call them thigh bones, but like the sections on the sides of the thighs sort of protruding out a little bit more than usual. The shoulder pads also, though, mimic more Ellen Ripley's, well, there they are right there, her jacket. Similar type of shoulder pads. But I guess one of the more notable traits for the Xenomorph in the Alien Resurrection film is the fact that it seems to have a much more broader neck, tapering off to a more triangular shape. You can see the broader neck kind of gets very skinny, very slender at the bottom base here. This happens, I believe, also to be the same alien that we got ourselves with the Superman SDCC release. So we sort of got a precursor, an early look at what would be the Alien Resurrection alien in that 2-pack. Things that I do, of course, still enjoy with the releases of these new Alien figures is the care to detail that NECA Toys manages to incorporate into all of these new beautiful looking sculpts. One thing I really do like about these figures, and I always go back to loving the more domed concept aliens, is that you really do you get the appeal of being able to look deep into the fluorescent fluorescent, translucent plastic. There you go. And you can actually see the skeletal inside of the Xenomorph's head. I've always been a bigger fan of the domed aliens rather than the aliens that just have rigid bumps along the top. The Alien Resurrection alien does look quite exquisite by having this kind of translucent, it's almost like a smoky colored, almost as if somebody was smoking and blowing cigar smoke in there. That's a really horrible, boy, that's, producers are just looking at me. Yeah, they're shaking their head. They're looking around wondering if maybe there's a backup reviewer they should be calling upon. Blowing smoke into plastic? Hopefully you know what I mean. It kind of looks like if you bought something at a flea market. Here we're going to run with this. We're going to run with this. They're still shaking their heads. If you ever buy something from a flea market and you can tell that you're buying it from somebody that that would have had a smoke house, you know, where you buy the collectibles from, the plastic looks like it's kind of got like a tinted shade to it, very discolored from the clear to now this kind of coloring here. That's what I was going with. Yeah, that's what I was going with. I really do like the dome though. And it's still, despite for the fact that it is as frostedly smoked, you can still see the fact that there is the bone structure on the interior there. Really, really nice. I like that a lot. Like with the other Xenomorph aliens, you can't open up the mouth. Always still tricky, I find, to get the actual inner jaw out. This might be something that if you had a trusty pair of tweezers, you could probably just kind of grab onto the tip and pull it out. Or if I had fingernails about this long. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I mean, yeah, sure, it would help pulling the jaw out, but I don't want to be walking around with really long fingernails. What am I going to do with them? I can't pick up papers. Typing on keyboards would be next to impossible. All that for pulling out a middle jaw or inner jaw of the Xenomorph alien. I'm just not going to do that. But if you had a pair of tweezers, most definitely you could kind of get your fingers in there or the tweezers in there and pull this right out. You can see the tendons coming out from the top of the jaw to the bottom of the jaw, and the teeth have been painted in silver. Something, again, we've seen before with other Xenomorph creatures, Xenomorph figures. So again, a lot of similar aspects have been added here, but all of which, again, really work quite well. I do feel like these little tube sections, if there is a scientific term for it, I don't know what it is, but I do feel like they're a little bit more distorted. They kind of look more like octopus legs, sort of just withering them or slithering their way out. You can almost even make out that it looks like they've got either like little breathing holes or almost even suction cups underneath. Maybe that's why looking at it make me feel like I'm looking at an octopus's legs or an elephant's trunk. It kind of looks like there's an elephant trunk there as well. But I do feel like they sit a little lower down on the torso and a little bit more out to the edges rather than having them normally closer together on other Xenomorphs. The spinal cord does have a little bit more of a protrusion to it than maybe some of the other alien figures that we've had in the past. Again, I really like this design. It's unfortunate that it had to come paired with such a dismal looking movie. The coloring is kept pretty much to browns, dark browns, and not really anything else other than browns. Coffee color would be a good color to describe the overall coloring and tone of this particular figure. Then we get to the very broad tail, something again of which I feel is different, an inclusion to the Alien Resurrection alien. I also like the spiked end of the tail, which seems to be used quite a bit in the Alien Resurrection film. Kind of feels like this alien carries its design over to the Alien vs. Predator series as well, at least the very first one. The legs are spindly, and as you would probably expect with these. Now, talking a little bit about the problems that I have with this particular figure, I mentioned at the beginning of this review that don't fall over, and that there's certain construction problems with this particular figure. Let me just write my name to this, that I feel like it's only really potentially my figure. This leg isn't so bad. The joints are still pretty tight, actually. Tight up here, tight down here, and tight, a little looser here, but for the most part, a stable feeling footing from this side of the figure. This side, however, is very loose. You can see how dangerously loose that is for certainly having the figure standing on these legs. This one leg is very, very difficult. I might try to, as you can see how loose this leg sits on its connection point, maybe see if I can wiggle this out and maybe add some additional I don't know if I would add floor polish or something in there. Maybe add additional bit of paint just to kind of broaden and thicken this section here. I don't know why it's such a big jump between the two. Like, it does feel like this leg just wasn't designed as good as this one here. Again, I want to stress the fact it may very well just be this particular figure. So standing, unfortunately, this alien Xenomorph, though they all sort of go this route eventually. I feel like right out of the packaging, I'm already having problems with a particular leg. This one leg on this alien figure, so that's a bit of a bummer. For the figure's articulation, let's have a look at it right now. The head rotates back and forth, a little on the tighter side, but you can rotate it back and forth, and it also hinges up and down. The torso does have articulation, an up and down ball joint, and it swivels back and forth. I really liked also the fact that the aliens were underwater. CG was still early stages, but I kind of like the idea of seeing aliens underwater swimming. The arms move forward and back. They hinge outward. It does have a double hinge on the elbow, so that's no problems right there. The hands swivel, or rotate, if you will, all the way around, and it hinges back and forth. You also do have articulation on these two fingers. The thumb and the, if you would call it the little piggy, maybe perhaps the one that decides to stay home. Or, no, this was the wee all the way home little piggy. This one doesn't have articulation. Where are we going with this? But these two fingers right here do hinge back and forth. A little on the loose side, but again, there's nothing really, these don't have to hold the figure up, so I'm less bothered by that. The legs move forward and back. They hinge outward. That's good there. And then unfortunately, some sad news to report. Again, this knee is really loose. Too loose for my liking. I'm going to have to see if I can fix that. Articulation here on the top of the knee. It's a little harder to bend it, mind you, when I've got this bottom knee giving me so much problem. You also have the hind leg bend. Bends back and forth. It's just really tight on this. Ironically enough, it's really tight here and really loose there. And then you have articulation on the feet as well as the toes. All around, I like the design of this alien. More of the same of what we've gotten before, but again, it's got some neat elements to it. The one thing I don't like, unfortunately, is the construction of this particular figure. It seems even for the course of reviewing this guy, for the few minutes that we did, I've already developed extremely loose knees, or at least this knee right here. I'm going to see if I can try to fix that up, because the last thing I certainly don't want is to be coming into my room frequently and finding this particular alien either just laying down on the job or completely fallen off my shelf onto the floor. Again, I have to stress the fact it's not specifically going to be everybody's across the board. I may have just lucked out and got myself one that happened to have loose legs. But unfortunately, that is the case, that it kind of goes with the territory. You really quite never know what you're going to be getting. Life is like a box of chocolates. Life is also like, well, box of chocolates, or packaging, I should say, of a figure is a lot like a box of chocolates as well. You never really know what you're going to be getting. And ultimately, the gooey center of the chocolates in this case ends up being something that's going to bite your head off. This alien warrior. Unfortunately, again, like not knowing what the condition of these figures are going to be when you get them out of the packaging, again, it's just a toss-up. Sometimes you may luck out. Sometimes you may, unfortunately, and in the case of a figure like this, I'm going to have some real problems keeping this figure from standing up. And that makes me very sad. Well, if I could quote a line from Ron Burgundy, well, that escalated quickly. That pretty much sums up my experience with the Xenomorph Warrior from Alien Resurrection. Usually before I hit the record button on my video and we start going underway with the video review, I'll spend a good half hour to an hour playing around with the figure, getting a feel for what I want to talk about in the review. Here in the case, though, of the Xenomorph Warrior, I already had experienced issues with getting this guy out of the packaging and having the one leg be extremely loose. But it seemed to progressively get worse over the course of this review, to the point where it started fine enough and it could hold its weight, to the point now here in final looks where it can barely hold itself together. Thank goodness, there's the wireframe tail, which is certainly one of the only things that's really keeping this figure standing upright right now. I might find myself having to do some surgery work to this particular figure, maybe pull apart its leg and find a way to beef up the joint, because unfortunately the joint on the leg is extremely loose. As a reviewer, of course, I do have to feel the need to point this stuff out to you guys. I can't just say the figure is perfectly fine. While it does look great, and I love the design of Aliens Resurrection's alien, unfortunately the figure leaves something to be desired. Again, I do want to stress the fact that it's only my particular figure, and you may not have any issues whatsoever. If you did manage to pick up this figure for yourself, let me know down below in the comment section if you've had any issues with the joints. It is really disheartening, though, to get this guy out of the packaging and already have really, really loose joints in the knees, especially for a Xenomorph, because that seems to be the one thing that starts going quickly on a figure. I don't expect them to spend a whole lot of extra funds to package the figure in a way that it has the same type of display stand as the newborn alien. Remember that black stand that came with that figure? Maybe moving forward, even at the very least, if they could include like a very simple, basic stand, something just as a crotch support or something that can clip around its waist to keep it upright. Because unfortunately, a lot of the times, for many of the figures that I've collected for aliens, it usually is the case where the legs develop really, really loose joints and they have a tough time standing. It's unfortunate, though, for the Xenomorph Warrior that it happened right out of the packaging. Kind of makes me sad. Either way, though, like I said, if you guys managed to pick up this one for yourself, let me know in the comment section if you've had any issues with the legs. Hopefully yours is standing a little bit better than mine. I'm going to have to definitely add something to it. Floor polish, maybe I'll add a little bit of extra paint, something to beef up that joint. Maybe see if I can actually fix this, because I do like the look of this alien. I just don't want to worry about it all the time falling off my shelf. Either way, again, guys, let me know what you guys think of the figure down below in the comments section. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. And definitely stay tuned, because there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming your way. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.